Greetings, everybody. It's Mike again, coming at you from the Room of the Ancient Mariner, and today I want to do one of the first of, I think, 3 videos that are going to wrap up my best of 2020 list. 2020 was an unusual year, to say the least, but the one thing I think everyone can agree upon is that there were some outstanding music releases that came out in this year. So how I've kind of evolved and how I collect my material is I used to always be kind of like a physical format collector. I still am, but over the last year and a half I've gotten gotten back into more vinyl collecting. I like to have the records. I like to have the products. The trick of that is it's super expensive, as you all know. I didn't get very many CDs. I didn't purchase very many CDs this year. I think maybe only 2 or 3. But most of the things I purchased on vinyl, I'm going to show you a lot of those. In fact, I'm going to show you not everything, because some of those are in my top 20 list. But I'm going to show you some things that I picked up on vinyl. So what I'm going to show today is these are not they're not going to be in any particular order. These are just albums. These are things that I've picked up in 2020 that were outside of my best of list. Doesn't mean that they're not really good albums, because basically how I operate is I listen to an awful lot of stuff digitally. I never thought I'd hear myself saying this, but I really recommend Apple Music or some type of digital format like that, because it gives you an opportunity to discover lots and lots and lots of different artists that are out there that you might not have otherwise heard of, just because you can't afford to pick up a physical format of something each time. So basically what I do is I listen to a lot of things digitally, and if I really like something and I want to have that in my collection, then I get it. And that's how I've done. So these were all my favorite albums or releases that I've heard throughout 2020, and these are ones that I tried to pick up. Now, there are several really highly rated records that probably could have, or maybe would have made my year-end best of list if I would have gotten them in a physical format. So I've decided I'm going to do a video separately to address just those, and that's going to be my top digital downloads of the year, and that'll come after this. So today, this is just everything that was left over. These are all things that I've purchased that were albums that I really liked. They just didn't make my top 20 list. That being said, very many of these are good enough that they could have. They just didn't. So again, these are in no particular order. I'm going to try to go through these quickly, but let's get started. First, we have Spectre of Devastation by the band Warfact. I have got to, I didn't take notes. I'm not reading off the notepads or anything. Someone's got to correct me. I can't remember if these guys are Australian, German. I don't remember where they're from. Anyway, they're on Napalm Records. They're a trio, thrash trio. This was real close to making at least my honorable mentions for the year. This is a really good thrash album, and I like it a lot. And if you're looking for some lesser known or newer, they're not new, they've been out for a couple albums at least now, but if you're looking for some less powerhouse name thrash bands on the rise, I recommend Warfact. Great album. So, that one aside. Up next, this one again could have made my list. I absolutely love this record. This record was a Father's Day gift to me from my son, so it has some sentimental value. But I love the record anyway. And it came out really early in the year. This is fantastic. This is the new Vandenberg. Great record. If you like solid hard rock, 80s hard rock, that record is really solid. Okay, next one. This is one that I really, maybe if I'd spent more time listening to this, it might have made the list. I've seen this as an album of the year on a couple of different critical formats. It's really good music. Just for whatever reason, it didn't hit me like I'd hoped it would. But this is kind of a more like a super group. Once I tell you who's in it, you'll know who I'm talking about. But if the star of the group is, I'm going to say, is Ross the Boss. Everyone knows who that is. Mike LaPond on bass, Sean Peck on vocals, Stu Marshall on other guitar, and Steve Bolognese? Am I saying that? I don't know if I'm saying it right or not. Anyway, he's the drummer. And this is Death Dealer, Conquered Lands. I will say that as far as package-wise, format-wise, product-wise, this is really awesome. The cover art's some of the best of this year, and the packaging that you get, everything included in this, is really, really awesome. So kudos to Steel Cartel for a really good production. Just, I don't know, maybe I need to spin more spins with it. It's good, but for whatever reason, the songwriting, the songs aren't as memorable to me as you know. The performances are solid, the material's solid, but the songs just didn't stand out to me as much as some other albums this year. So, Death Dealer. This one, again, could have made my list. I'm going to take this out so you can see it. It's got this green sleeve. You can't really see it. Anyway, this is a band that's kind of near and dear to me because they're from my home state. This is Wolftooth with Valhalla. They're labeled, they're marketed as kind of a doom band, but they're not. To me, they're not as slow and drudgeony as you know, more modern doom tends to be. But this was very highly touted this year. Cursed Tongue Records is a label. I've seen this on a lot of and doom sites have that album as very well regarded and high on a lot of lists. Again, great record. I love it. Just it didn't make my list. A lot of these are albums that have appeared on other people's lists, just not mine. Here's one too. This was the first. This band's been just on fire the last several years in the new wave of traditional heavy metal circles. Everybody loves them. I had never had any of their physical products simply because the records are all produced in Europe and they're hard to get and they are expensive when you order them internationally. But I decided I wanted one of their albums on vinyl, and my wise, I'll start with the newest one that was released this year. So this is from High Roller Records, and a brain fade there. High Roller Records. This is the new one by Ambushinfidel. A lot of guys out there, they live and die by this band. I've always liked them. I thought they sounded really good. In all honesty, I've not really understood the hype of them being like the new saviors of heavy metal. They sound good. They're very good, but I've not bought into them to that degree. But I do like I like all of their stuff, and I really do like this album. What's the track? I think Hellbiter might have been it. Might have been Hellbiter. Anyway, one of the singles off this album and a video for it was a great song. Good stuff. Okay, so this next band, this is sometimes you can't even read the names. I in Hell. That's the thing. I in Hell. EYE in Hell. This is by Volcano. I'm going to say, maybe, cash in my metalhead card. This is a band that I have not been familiar with, but they've been around like since the 80s, pre-80s. They're a Brazilian metal band that were around before Sepultura and Ratos de Pariah and all those different types of influential Brazilian bands. And this is I don't have the guy's name, but the original guitar player, like the only original member of the group, I believe. He's an old guy, but man, he still rocks. And he's resurrected this band, and this album was released this year, and it's got really good quality thrash metal on it. When it first came out, I was impressed enough with it that I thought it might make my list, but it came out so early, and like I said, there's just been so many good things come out throughout this year that it just got surpassed. But if you've not heard of them, check them out. Volcano, yeah. Okay, another one, like Ambush, this band is really high on a lot of lists. One of the new favorites of the new wave of traditional heavy metal. This is the newest by Traveler, Termination Shock. Again, I really like this record. I was happy to have to get this on vinyl. kind of, listening to these new wave of traditional heavy metal bands on vinyl kind of reminds me of how it used to feel listening to vinyl records when that was all you could get, back in the early 80s, before cassettes were all the rage. Again, I for some reason I've not felt like these guys are like the saviors of all that is metal, but I like everything that they've put out, and I enjoy this album. Okay, next one. This one was a surprise for me because I'm not a real black metal or death metal guy. I mean, I like those. I like anything that is metal, but I listened to this one and I really, really enjoyed it because there is enough diversity in it, I think, to appeal to fans of all that is metal. What I like about the album, it's Black Tides of Obscurity by the band Earth Rot. And of note to what I remember about this album is that they just very seamlessly transition between the elements of black and death. So they have a little diversity in the vocal delivery. 1 minute this guy, he can sound guttural as classic death metal style vocals, and then he can also shriek and have the higher end tone to his voice that's typically of that black metal sound. So what you have through the songs is through one song, you'll have kind of like a roller coaster ride where it will start sounding traditionally black metalish, and then it'll transition into like a death metal, and then back. And they do it very aimlessly. And in fact, I want to recommend to everybody the song "The Cape of Storms" is the song from this album. There's a video for it on YouTube, and check it out. It has a breakdown, an instrumental breakdown in it that is just it's proggy, classic, rocky kind of sounding, but you wouldn't think it doesn't belong on a death metal or black metal album. But the song is a great song, and the musicianship is fantastic, and they pull it off absolutely perfectly. So check that song out. It's a really great song, and might turn you onto the band Earth Rot. Okay, this was the first album I bought this year. And it came out super early. And when I first listened to it, I really thought it might make my year-end list because I thought it was that good. And it still is that good. It just, some fantastic albums came out after that. But this is the Serpent Rings by Magnum. Kind of an older traditional metal band, more hard rock kind of style of band. Real heavy metalheads might not dig that, but if you're old school like me, I'm sure you've probably heard of Magnum, but it's a good record. Okay, next, another one. This is kind of more comic relief, but if you can get past the humor factor of this band, these guys are really talented musicians and they write really memorable songs. This is Curse of the Crystal Coconut by Ailstorm. Your pirate metal. I'm not going to say too much about it. Most of you probably know who they are. A band that's not taken too seriously because of just their look, their lyrical content. But the music on this album is quite good. Okay, next up, this one, I think that if I have the biggest the album's not a disappointment. Because I like the album and I love the band, still love the band. But I think if there was a biggest disappointment of this year, it would be that this album did not hit me as much as I had hoped it would, and then I didn't love it as much as I had wanted to, and that it just didn't kind of put the band in a new light of perspective for me. And that's the new Lamb of God. And you think it was self-titled, like maybe the band was trying to reinvent themselves. It's really good album. It is Lamb of God, and I'm a Lamb of God fan. Always have been since I saw them in their infancy at a club show in Fort Wayne, and I predicted when I saw them on stage that they would be one of the next big metal bands, and they were, and they are, and hate them, love them. They're kind of polarizing amongst the community, but. Just for whatever reason, that album, it just didn't grab me. I wanted it to grab me, and I wanted to go back to it many, many times. And I put it on and listen to it in the car, and I like it's Lamb of God. I like it, but it just didn't get its hooks in me like I really hoped it would. So let's see, what do we get next? This is a band I had never heard of. I picked this up when I bought a whole bunch of stuff from Nuclear Blast on their Black Friday sale. This is a modern metal band. The hype sticker says they can appeal for fans of Sepultura, Mastodon, Gojira, and Converge. So obviously there's a lot of different types of sounds there. But this is a band out of Atlanta called Irist. The album is called Orders of the Mind. I've listened to this digitally. I haven't even cracked this open to spin it yet. But it was very inexpensive, and I'm trying to build my vinyl collection and trying to open some doors to some new sounds. So why not? Clearly, it didn't make that much of an effect on me because it's not on my list. But I liked it enough to buy it. Okay, this next one. This is one that's really resonated well with a lot of the thrash metal folks out there. A lot of guys who I really respect in the community have this album on their list, and I know why. I'll be honest, the last couple of albums by this band, I didn't love them because I thought they sounded too. At least one of them I thought just sounded like it was just too much Slayer worship, and it didn't have, I didn't think, enough originality to it. But this album really does kind of sound differently than that. I didn't think that this album sounded like a copy of anything. And of course, this band's been around a long time anyway. It's a German thrash band, Accuser. I really like it. Maybe if I had spent more time with it, it might have made the list. It's good enough to have made the list. It didn't. Another one, same way. This I wanted to love this one. I wanted this one to be when this one came out. I wanted this one to be one of my favorites of the year, and it's just not. It's really good, and I like it. There are just so many others that I like better than this. But again, this is a fantastic record. It's a great package. I was very happy to have this. See this band put some more stuff out. This is Empire of the Blind by Heathen. I will say this about this album: a lot of some of the critical debate about this record is that it doesn't have a classic Heathen sound, and maybe not. Maybe not, but what a lot of things that people don't always think about this kind of stuff. A musician can be a fantastic musician. A person can have a lot of talent, but music and a song is really all about the song itself. So songwriting is such an important component of any band that I think that gets lost in translation a lot when we talk about who really great artists are. And that's probably why, I can tell you, Yngwie Malmsteen is a technically talented, fantastic guitar player, but I can't tell you, I couldn't tell you the names or sing to you any more than maybe 2 Yngwie Malmsteen songs. That being said, Angus Young, AC/DC, or pick anybody, Glenn Tipton, KK Downing, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, anybody. We all know their songs because the songwriting is such an important element of music. And I'm not saying that Yngwie Malmsteen doesn't write good songs. Don't hate on me if you're an Yngwie lover. I'm just saying that some songwriters, some writers have a niche for writing songs that are more memorable and catchy and that stay with us. And my point being, this is a Craig and Lum album. Every song on this, as far as I can tell, all the music and lyrics on this album were written by Craig and Lum. Now, that doesn't mean Craig doesn't write good songs, because these songs are good. But that's not the case with the classic Heathen albums. Lee Altus and David White contributed more to the songwriting. And I think that, I think with Lee not helping or contributing to some of the song writing on this album, gave it a different flavor. And that could amount, be why this sound is a little bit different. Again, that was not said to throw shade on Cragen or anything. These songs are good songs. Just could explain why, if you were expecting, something along the lines of Victims of Deception or the other classic Heathen releases, if you felt disappointed that you didn't get that from that could be one of the reasons why. Okay, moving on. Another one. When I listened to this when it first came out, it didn't do much for me. And then here toward the end of the year, I've seen it on a lot of lists, and I thought, I need to revisit this and listen to it again and see what I think. And then I was able to, I found it for a really good price on vinyl, and I thought, hey, you gotta have it. But anyway, it's Ordinary Man by Ozzy Osbourne. I do like it. I like the songs are good. My thing about this is this. This album just sounds to me like it's a total production of the studio. I don't believe that Ozzy sounds as good as the vocals sound. I don't believe the man's physically capable of sounding like that. So I think there's been a lot of studio enhancements on here. Plus, too, the whole Post Malone production kind of thing. It doesn't sound organic enough to me. Like it sounds like guys, and I know Chad Smith and is it Duff McKagan? I think it's Duff McKagan. Play bass and drums on this. The rhythm section's tight, but it just sounds to me like great musicians who have given their talents in the studio, and it's all been thrown together to make an album. It doesn't sound like a cohesive unit, a band firing on all cylinders, and that's really my only issue with it. I like it. It's not bad. That's my take on it. Okay, another one. This one has been, I've seen this as Album of the Year. I can understand why. The music sounds really good. The production is solid. The performances is great. It's got great players on it. This is the Wrath of the Easter Bunny. It's the Easter Bunny demo. The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo by Mr. Bungle. Neat looking cover, packaging. Here's my beef on this. I got a couple things about this. Number one, when you spend your hard-earned money on a record, you want a lot of stuff. No lyrics, no nothing, no liner notes, some pictures. Look, crap. Then you take the album out, and it's got goofy sides like, okay, it's a double album for one, and there's no, the label, side Jacobs, side Zane. What the hell is this? Maybe there's an inside gig here. Maybe I don't know enough about the band to know this. I don't know. But you know what? Make it easy for me to listen to it. Give me some lyrics. If you go onto Apple Music and download this digitally, there's lyrics that come up digitally on your screen. You couldn't have printed them and put them in here. So boo to whoever's idea that was. Yeah, unpopular. So, okay, that's a rant. The next thing is, all right, so this maybe be a good debate. Yeah, this is music. It's been tweaked. It's been performed in 2020. I'm sure there have been some enhancement to the original material, but this is all stuff that was written back in the early 80s. And when you listen to it, everyone's like, oh, this is a great thrash album. Well, yeah, it is. And it's got a modern performance and a modern sound. But the music, I go back to songwriting, the music itself is eons old. And to me, it sounds an awful lot like SOD, early Anthrax, and that's probably why Scott Ian was asked to perform on it. Maybe that's kind of picky of me to look at this album as far as that. I look at this more of a re-recorded product and not something new, some music that's being thought of and written now. And that's just one of the reasons why I couldn't put this in my best of list. Those of you out there who love this and say it's the best of the year might be really mad at me for saying that, but that's just the way it is. So again, I mean, clearly I like it. I bought it. I'm disappointed that they didn't think of the consumer a little bit more in the product. That's really disappointing to me. And unless you just absolutely love vinyl, you think that's the best sounding format, then by all means drop 30 to 40 bucks trying to find this. But I was really hoping to have more stuff in the in the record itself, so that was a disappointment to me. But all right, moving on. This one, okay, so legendary band. They've never been one of my favorites. I just don't really have, I think, the patience to sit down and listen to one of their albums, because you have to be very, I don't know, patient. Patient might not be the word, but there's a lot going on just to sit and take it in. Grindcore's never been one of my favorite things. I just find it too, I mean, is it possible for some music to just be unlistenable to a metalhead? Yeah. But anyway, flashes of brilliance through a lot of their stuff, a lot of their albums. I've got several of their albums in my collection. It's not that I don't like them. They've just never been one of my favorites. But anyway, this is Throes of Joy in the Jaws of Defeatism by Napalm Death. It's a mouthful. It's a great, very depressing cover too. But anyway, so the story behind this came out, and I listened to it. I mean, it didn't really resonate with me quickly. And I thought, okay. And then I was, toward the end of the year, starting to read where a lot of people loved it and thought it was one of the best albums of the year. Like, maybe I should revisit this. So one night I put it on, put my headphones on, I listened to it, and I was surprised at how much I really liked it. And wow, I should have given this more of a chance early on. And it is a very, very good record. At first, I wasn't a fan of some of the industrial experimental elements of it, but when I go back and listen to it now, they're not so obscene that you can't enjoy it. But when you scratch the surface and get and peel back some of the layers and listen to it, there's some fantastic riffs, some really great driving hard rhythms, the stuff that Napalm Death is known for, and it is a really good album. All right, next one, controversial in another way. I'm not even going to entertain. I don't want it. If you're even thinking about typing a comment, just don't. I don't care. This is a music channel. It's not a political channel. I'm all about the music. I bought it, so I'm going to show it. This is the Demons and Wizards 3. So yeah, I bought it. Let's talk about the music. I'll say this. I expected more. I expected more of the album. I'm not disappointed in the music. I like the music. And again, with each listen, it is what it is. It's solid, traditional, heavy metal. But given the talents and abilities of everyone that makes up the band, I feel like this is something that should floor you every time you listen to it. And I've never been floored by it. I like it. I like the music. I'll always like the music. That's all we're going to say about that. Okay. This one, I was really happy to find this at a good price. This one was one that was entered. It was not released. They're easy to find in the United States, so I found this on eBay. Anyway, this is another classic band that's been around forever from Germany, German speed metal band. This is Emerald Eyes by Iron Angel. And what you're going to get with this is just good old traditional driving speed metal with good heavy metal riffs, good vocals. Mighty Music is the record label. Iron Angel's never been one of those bands that I cut my teeth on. They weren't one of my favorites. This is the only album that I own in my whole entire collection from them. But when this came out this year, for the last couple of years, they put some albums out that I'd listened to digitally. And I thought, wow, that was really good. And then this year, this one came out, and I really liked it. And I'm glad to have that on vinyl. Okay, now from old to new, that was a classic, one of the maybe originators of the classic speed metal genre. To now, this is I believe they're from the Seattle area, the Pacific Northwest of the United States is a hotbed for new metal, and this is a newer speed metal band. I've seen this album show up on a lot of lists, and for good reason. This is Spectral Devastation by the band Solicitor, female fronted. Amy Lee Carlson is the lead singer, and she's just awesome. Her voice is great, and she looks like she's just got total metal attitude and spirit. And this is really good, dirty, riffy, speedy stuff. Liked it a lot. Okay, switching gears a little bit to more of a kind of not really. There's a great debate now about what crossover is and what this crossover sound is. Now, as an old school metal guy, I have my own idea what crossover sounds like, and I've always thought about like, for me, crossover was early Cro-Mags. DRI will always be the penultimate crossover band, in my opinion. And so if it sounds like DRI, it's probably crossover. So there has been a lot of debate about, bands like, God, I hate getting old. Power Trip. So Power Trip, to me, Power Trip's not a crossover band. There's some crossover elements in the band in it, yeah, but to me, there's more. If you peel back the layers of the sound, there are a lot more elements of the traditional wave of metal in there than the crossover. But anyway, it's an argument for another day. But this band probably would fall into that category. This is Plague Years with Circle of Darkness. Good looking album cover. As you can tell from looking at some of these, a lot of these I've just acquired, within the last couple months, and honestly, I haven't had time to even take them out and spin them yet. But I've listened to them throughout the year since their release, and I like this one. It's a good, solid listen. Wasn't quite compelling enough to get it in my best of list, but obviously I liked it enough that I wanted to invest in it and buy it. So that's a perfect definition of this one too. This is a band. A lot of guys are really, a lot of folks really love this band, and they love this album, and for good reason. I think this album sounds stylistically different than their last couple. The last couple of albums, I just didn't care for them. I talked about going back to Accuser, having just sounded very one-dimensional, too Slayer-ish, and I really thought that of this band's first and second album. But when I listened to this one, I thought they've really kind of developed their sound in a different direction and sound more their own. And this is Detritus of the Final Age by the UK thrash band Harlot. And this one's been very highly sought after here lately by members of the metal community. Yeah, good solid thrash metal. Just there were some other ones this year that I thought were just a little bit better and made the list. Okay, getting down to the last couple here. So this one, when I first heard this, I thought, this is going to be on there. I've always loved this band. I've always loved their material. Although the last couple of albums, I've got to admit, I just didn't spend as much time with. Probably because it's a lot of samey. I mean, you know what you're going to get with this band, and then they don't disappoint, especially if you like the sound. But anyway, this is Way to the False Self with Hatebreed. I mean, it's just straightforward chugging hardcore thrash metal. Jamie Josta sounds like Jamie Josta. You know what you're going to get when you get a Hatebreed album. But this one, when it first came out, and I first listened to it, my very first listen of it, wow, they really delivered this time. And they have. Again, just, for whatever reason, there have been so many other albums come out that this one was just short of making that list. And then the final one I'm going to show, I really like when you find out about a band that you've never heard of before, and then you're kind of ashamed of yourself because, man, I should have known who this band was. And I try to be as knowledgeable as I can about the genre. So I had heard of this individuals band. Just didn't really know, who necessarily who he was as an individual. And I'm talking about Daniel Corchado, and he's the brainchild behind this group. He's a metalhead guy out of Chicago, and the Chasm is his other band. But this is, and that's kind of more of a doomy death, harder edge sound. But this project called Acerous is more of a classic power metal sound. And I've turned on to this album by Sarah from Banger TV. She really liked this album, and this was kind of a blind buy. I went to their Facebook page, had a link to not Bandcamp, but a link to where you could purchase this. It's pretty much, I think, a self-produced thing, and I got it through this guy's own webpage at a really good price, and I really like it. It's good traditional heavy metal with traditional vocals and guitar riffs and solos. So good stuff. All right, so I like to yak, so the videos ran a little bit longer than I had anticipated, but I didn't count how many of those were. There's probably more than 20 there. I probably picked up around 50 physical albums this year, and that's just scratching the surface of all the great stuff that was out there. So this is kind of like the rest. The best is yet to come. So coming up in next couple videos, I want to talk about the top. All right, so these are things that I bought. There've been a lot of really good albums out there that I just simply didn't have an opportunity to get. Albums that, had I bought them, would have definitely been on my best of list. With one exception, I think one. There's one album I'm going to show in my top 20 that I physically don't have. I thought I had a copy of it a couple weeks ago, and then the guy on eBay emailed me back and said, "Hey, sorry, I thought I had one more than I had, but I don't, so I didn't have it." I'm debating getting it directly from the distributor in Europe, but I've not had the most luck with European deliveries, and I don't like the idea of spending money and not getting my product. So as for now, the digital download is going to have to do. But my point being, I want to highlight some of those digital download albums that are fantastic albums that I just don't have. And if I did have them, there's no reason why they wouldn't be in the top releases of the year. So I'm going to do probably 10, at least a top 10 digital download list. That's going to be, I think, my next video. And then we're going to wrap it up with the best of 2020 before we start exploring some of the great music that's already hit the shelves in 2021. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing the rest of the stuff that I bought. And I got the best, and this was the rest. So let me know what you think of some of these albums. I know some of these have appeared on a lot of your guys' lists. So we're all kind of on the same page. Again, these are all albums I really like, enjoyed enough that I wanted to invest in them and buy them. So it's not that none of these albums are bad. They just didn't make my top 20 and a few extra honorable mentions. So, all right. Hope you enjoyed that. Be some more coming up. And in the meantime, make sure you let them know your metal. Bang your head, throw the goat, and I'll catch you next time.